Hey dirt bike fans, I'm Chris Kiefer. Welcome to Racer X, and we have another garage build today. Actually, this is a part 2 of a 2025 Honda CRF250R XPR build that we promised you that would happen, and here we are simply a few months later, and we are delivering on our promise. And we got Chad Braun from XPR. He is the owner, the founder of the business, and we've evolved this CRF250R. And for those of you guys wondering, and you guys hit me up on my email and say, Chris, I need some more torque out of the Honda. I love the Honda chassis. I love the ergonomics, but I simply just need more power. How do I go about doing that? Well, if you go back and watch our first garage build with this model, you can see what we did. And Chad's gonna give us a little refresher course on what he did, and then we're gonna tell you what we did in this part 2 build. So Chad, give it a rip.
Well, the first version of this was we did our high compression piston with a ported head. We added the exhaust pipe, the Akrapovic pipe, with some fuel, some mapping with the Vortex, and that was our stage 1 build.
If there's someone that knows Honda, it's this gentleman right here. Look at, he has been a part of, I'm gonna try to say this right, the Smart Top Bullfrog Spas Honda team, Moto Concepts Racing. I don't know how to say it.
Well, it's not Bullfrogs anymore, it's Smart Top Honda.
There you go.
Yeah.
So
MCR.
You've been part of Tony's program for a long time.
13, 14 years.
So if there's someone with patience, it would be Chad. There's a lot of patience with Chad. Okay, so you don't need that much to get more torque out of this. So stage 1 was kind of like, hey, we got a high compression piston, we got an Akrapovic muffler, which to me, and I think Chad can attest to this as well, it is the best built muffler that you can buy. Look, there's a lot of good mufflers out there, but as far as quality and length of time that you don't have to repack a muffler, this muffler is exactly what you need. It is expensive, but also you don't have to babysit it. You can just ride with it and get the power and not have to do anything to it as far as maintenance wise. So with the stage 1 build, I got more torque, I got more power, the bike became more fun, added the REP suspension for more holdup, and it was a great, exciting bike for me to ride. I'm 175 pounds, I'm not a 250F guy, but it is fun for me to ride. But I needed more. Of course, we all do, right? That's what we do. As Americans, we just want more and more and more. We want bigger, we want faster. So now, we talked about this morning. I said the dual injector is like this new craze that's coming across these modified bikes. We hear about it. If you go to Vital MX, you can see all in the pit bits that a lot of these factory teams in the 250F side are going to dual injectors. Chad said, no, we've been doing it since 2012. But I think it was our responsibility to kind of bring that to you, and then Chad's been offering it to the consumer. So now we are, stage 2, we've added this dual injector. So what is the process in doing this for this bike?
For this bike, basically we do an addition to the airbox. We put our second injector kit in right where the air trumpet goes, and then we plumb it in to make it work with, the Vortex. We tune it accordingly. It gives it a big boost of power. It's about 2.5 horse.
Just the injector?
Just the injector.
Oh, wow, okay.
Yeah, so it makes a big difference. The response is quite a bit better, more mid-range top, also helps with the bottom end too, the response.
Okay, so the questions I'm gonna get asked, hey, the kit comes with a Vortex, right?
Yep.
It's mapped for what kind of fuel?
Yeah, well, we map to the more popular fuels. You get your VPs, your ETS fuels. We have set maps for that. We can't map to every single fuel that's out there. It's impossible. But the more popular ones is that Pro 6s, T4s, ETS, MX-18s, stuff like that. You're
gonna have a guy that's gonna hit me up and say, Chris, I just bought this dual injector. I want it on pump fuel.
It can run on pump fuel.
It can.
It can. As we've talked about many times, is that pump gas is always not as consistent as race gas. For our mapping to be consistent, we always like running at least some sort of race gas.
Atomization is what we're talking about?
Yeah, atomization helps a lot with race gas, performance. So yeah, we prefer a race gas.
So in the world of builds, this isn't a huge, drastic, gnarly, modified build. Sure, we got a high compression piston, we got some light head work, we got a dual injector, and we got a muffler. I would almost just venture out, this kind of stage 1.5, but we're saying it's a stage 2.
It's kind of a stage 2 because, I mean, from here we would start getting into cams, more aggressive porting, maybe bottom end work, you know, things like that.
How much is the dual injector kit?
The dual injector kit is $965 or $959, sorry. But if you need a Vortex, the Vortex is $1159 currently.
So if you have an older Vortex, you can send that into and you can remap for this.
Right, so we can remap an old Vortex as long as it's about 2 years old. We're okay. We don't want to go too old because, you know, the wires and the ECUs, they take a lot of abuse. They get pressure washed. So we'll look at them and see if they're in good shape to do it, because we have to rely on the options port on the Vortex to make sure that, you know, our second injector works well.
All right, you Honda guys. I'm gonna go out and ride this. One thing I forgot to mention before we continue on here is we've evolved this. After stage 1, I sent this stuff back to REP. The suspension has been a little bit, what I like to call beefed up, a little bit more meat, a little bit more quality damping. That's what I was looking for. So we're gonna try that. Overall, everything else is pretty stock on this. Look at, we have stock chain, we have stock sprockets. I was really focusing in on the engine, what we can do to that, and suspension. We can always just put the fluffy stuff on later. I'm sure you guys can do that yourselves. You don't need to be babysat for that. But nonetheless, this isn't an infomercial. These are the things that I feel like in the past have been quality parts that you can add to your bike. I'll just be honest with Chad, I really don't give a shit if you buy the dual injector. I'm sure Chad does, but I'm here to tell you what exactly, is it worth it or isn't. So I'm gonna go rip this thing on the track. We'll get back to you and give you some information on what this stage 2 build is all about. All right, wrapped up here at the infamous Glen Helen Raceway. If you guys only see what happens before we roll these cameras, you should thank Simon, because I know I'm not an attractive man. I have a face for radio, so Simon instructed me to put on glasses and a hat just to cover my face before we started this. So thanks, Simon, so you don't have to see my face. All right, so I brought Chad back. Normally I don't do this. I just kind of talk, and then I'll talk trash about the bike while the guy who builds it is over there. So,
yeah, makes sense.
I'm going to talk about him in front of his face.
There you go.
So, all right, from stage 1 to stage 2, what am I feeling? And I'll just tell you this, and then maybe you can ask questions if you want. Well, we can just go back and forth.
Yeah, sure.
Increased low end, not shocking. But what was shocking for me is I got more over rev, more pull. So it seemed like, and I told Chad this, it pulled harder out of the corner and a little bit longer. Second gear pulls farther, but Honda has a third gear that's very strange. Like, I'm almost bypassed third gear a lot. It has gotten better as I increase the power, but nonetheless, it's still there. So what I noticed with the second injector is it's just more excitement. There's more low-end RPM response. The bike feels lighter. It feels more responsive. The other thing we talk about a lot on these garage builds and just tests in general is connectivity to the rear wheel. And normally when I add power, there usually gets some disconnection or it lights up quick, and that is very hard to achieve, is connection. I've worked with Chad a long time to try to get a lot of that on the 450 side, but not so much on the 250 side, just simply because I don't ride them enough. But one thing when I just pulled on the track, and I'm very familiar with this track, is I have a lot of connectivity. Coming out of the corner, second gear, Glen Helen is known for having blown out berms, little tiny dishes that get cupped out. I can get on the gas really early with that excitement and have enough traction in the rear wheel where I'm not worried about it stepping out. Even when, I'm sure Simon got a couple shots of me when I plowed into some berms and it hooked out, this thing drove straight out really nice, comparative to the stage 1 build, which it did that well, but it just didn't spool up really as fast as it does with the second injector. So if you guys are wondering what the second injector does, simply, it just adds low-end RPM response, gives you some more enhanced torque feeling out of a corner, and increased over rev. So I don't know what that correlates on the dyno. Maybe we can talk about that a little bit, but what's the dyno say?
Well, the second injector upstream helps increase the power, right? So that's what we're doing pretty much from the bottom all the way to the top, and the over rev you feel is power increase. So the main thing that the second injector does, the further you put it away from the intake valve, the better the fuel is going to atomize. It's also going to cool the intake charge, which is where your power comes from. So that's why we put them so far back. We put them as far as back as we can to optimize the power and get good atomization. But that's what you feel.
Now let me ask you this, because I don't know enough about it, so I'm going to ask you these dumb questions. You put it closer to the intake, right? What does that do? Will that add more power, or how does that work?
So, like,
do you play with that adjustment, is what I guess I'm
with
asking.
the second injector?
Yes.
Yes, it's super important. The placement of the second injector, where it goes, whether it's further back, forward,
okay,
angled, all of that matters. So
okay,
yes, when we're doing all of our R&D and testing, that's what we're playing with to find the optimal and what it wants.
So I asked Chad this earlier. If you're just a Honda owner, and I have a stock bike, I just purchased a CRF250R, what is the, I guess, most economical mod you can do to feel the power that you're purchasing?
Honestly, my opinion, second injector ECU makes a big difference. On this bike, pipe also helps too. But if you were to just do those things, it really wakes the bike up.
Piston, headwork, second injector, some fuel, and a muffler. It's a whole different Honda CRF250R. You have excitement, you have pulling power. It can tow my fat ass around up the hills at Glen Helen. I'm 175 pounds. I'm a lazy 450 guy. I'm damn near 50 years old. I'm not supposed to be on a 250 because I'm experienced. I ride a lot. For you guys that are maybe a novice rider that is looking for safety, yet having maximum fun, I don't know why you wouldn't want something like this. This makes sense to me.
I mean, we get a lot of requests from vet riders that are switching from 450s to 250s, and they're just wanting more power. It's a very common thing that we're continuously hearing now. It's a trend.
What about reliability? So how does reliability work with the second injector? Does it hurt? Does it add any negativity to that?
There's no downside to reliability. It stays the same. We've increased the rev limiter a little bit over stock, but nothing crazy where it's going to cause any issues.
Plus 200, or where are we at?
I think it's about 150, plus 150.
So you guys are saying, what's 150? 150 RPM increase at the peak power, right? So it's going to increase a little bit more. It doesn't sound like much. You're like, 150 RPM, that's nothing. But in the world of motocross and accelerating out of a corner, 150 extra RPM feels like, I don't know, I'm trying to put it into feet, almost like 200 feet more.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing what that extra little bit does, for sure.
Overall, just a fun build, and actually seeing it evolve. I had Mark REP suspension evolve my suspension. Is a little bit soft. I might be gaining some weight, getting older. The old body's getting old, so I'm getting a little more LBs. Needed more hold up, so he did do that. And you guys can see on the camera, like, the bike holds up well, it tracks well, there's a lot of comfort. This bike doesn't feel as rigid as a 450. I know that there's less power, but simply put, I complain a lot about the chassis on the Honda 450 side. I don't have those complaints on the 250 side at all. I'm on the edges of my tires here a lot. Combined with the suspension and the power, I feel like I can cut across the bumps really well at Glen Helen and manage the whole chassis much better on the 250 Honda than the 450. So that says something too. So I think when I complain about the chassis on the 450 side, it's not so much the chassis itself, it's just the power that's going down inside of that chassis as far as having more power. So a little bit less power, this chassis is really good. Fun bike, I think that's what I say a lot on these stupid builds that I do. I always say it's fun, but what does that mean? It correlates to what you guys want to have at home, how much fun you looking to have, comparative how much money is in your bank account. So for me, 900 and what, plus the Vortex is what we're looking at, $1,600, $1,700?
It's just under $2 for the whole thing. If you don't have a Vortex, yeah.
A muffler is $1,000 to $1,200. That's not the Akrapovic. Okay, and he was getting all excited. Akrapovic $1,700, I would assume, right?
Well, with tariffs and stuff like that, it's gone
Ooh,
up a
tariffs.
lot of it's changed a bit.
That's
so
a trigger word.
It is.
Tariffs.
It is a trigger word.
So if I'm going to tell you guys where to spend your money, and he can answer this as well, I'd go to second injector before I go to muffler. Can we do that?
Yeah, no, absolutely.
You can run a second injector kit with the stock muffler. I would rather see you guys do that than just simply go to a muffler. Apologies to the muffler companies out there, but at least I can feel the money I'm spending within my bike with the second injector.
Yeah, no, for sure.
And you're not losing reliability. So I'm looking for maximum fun with as little money spent as possible. So to me, the second injector kit is really good. And then if you want to add a piston and have Chad do some head work, I would do that second. So maybe this should have been stage 1.
Maybe.
And then the piston and the head should have been stage 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
Nonetheless, I'm Chris at KieferIncTesting.com if you have any questions about this build, Hondas in general. If I don't know the answer, I'll just tell you I don't know. If you want to direct anything to Chad, how can they get a hold of you?
They can email us at info@xprmotorsports.com.
And that wraps it up here at Glen Helen Raceway on the Honda CRF250R. Thanks to Mark and the crew for getting more comfortable suspension on this bike. And thanks to Chad for building the power. It's been a fun build. You young kids, you old guys, this is a great option. Don't forget, Honda builds a great 250R. And as far as just dirt bikes in general being durable, it's hard to beat a Honda.
Yeah, true.
Trust me, I'm on other colors a lot, and there's other colors are not as reliable as a Honda. So stay tuned for more garage builds here on RacerXOnline.com. And of course, 12 issues, $30. I say it every freaking time. Subscribe to a magazine, read a magazine. There's a lot of cool stuff in there that you can't see on the internet, and it helps us out. Check them out, 12 issues, $30. We'll see you on the next garage build. Thanks, Simon, for covering my face.